And so we had a nice little roundup today on potential trades with the Lakers, right? And the Lakers are interested in these three guys. They're interested in Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, and Bojan Bogdanovic, with the idea of bolstering their roster, adding some wing depth, adding some three-point shooting. Although Evan Fournier is more of a shooting guard than a three guard, and he's having a really rough year. But nonetheless, these are three guys that if they can get to, be their average, specifically Evan Fournier, then he's a 38% three-point shooter, right? And so the Lakers are trying to weigh their options and figure out which combination of these guys can they get? Can they work out a multi-team deal? What can they do to potentially get at least two of these guys, as well as keep flexibility to maybe do another trade or two? And it's really going to come down very likely to one or the other, right? Because if you're doing any of these deals, you're trading Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, maybe Damian Jones, something like that. And you're either getting Bojan or you're getting Reddish and Fournier, because you're not going to be able to make multiple deals unless you incorporate into a three-team deal. Now, starting with Reddish and Fournier, I'm not really huge on it. Evan Fournier, I think if he can get back to being the Evan Fournier that is a 38% three-point shooter, not great defender, but a serviceable defender, a solid defender. He's a guy that could at least stay in front of his guy and play some serviceable defense. If he can get back to that guy, then maybe it'd be interesting if the price is right. But Cam Reddish is the real price. He's the guy that you want. He's the guy that has the size and the youth and just hasn't really gotten a fair shake, and is a guy that you maybe can potentially draw that out of, get that athleticism, get that size, get that consistency that teams have been looking for with him. And if that's the case, then great. Now you got a legit, sizable 6'8", multiple forward playing type of player, and that could be hugely beneficial for now and the future, not just this season, right? But the Knicks want to unload Reddish by convincing teams to take Evan Fournier, right? Like, there's been reports that the Knicks are only looking for a second-round pick for Cam Reddish. And if that's the case, like if you could just do Kendrick Nunn and a second-round pick for Reddish, go do it right this second, right? That's the whole thing. That's what everyone is like, how come this hasn't happened yet? But in reality, we don't know if there are other caveats, right? We don't know if there are, contingencies to that. Like, yeah, we'll give you Reddish for a second round pick, but you have to take Evan Fournier. If you don't take Evan Fournier, then we want, a first round for him, because they gave up a first round pick, right, for Cam Reddish. They gave up a young player, and so they want to get something of value, and teams aren't going to give you a bunch of draft picks and stuff like that for Cam Reddish. So what is the other option? Okay, well, instead of a first, let's get the cap flexibility to move off of Evan Fournier, because he's completely fallen out of the rotation, and we can kind of ride with our young guys. But for the Lakers standpoint, it's just such a huge risk. Like, is Evan Fournier the guy you want to ruin your cap space on? I don't really think it is. I don't really think that that's the guy that you really want in a positive light or in a positive manner. I don't think he's the guy that you're like, yeah, that's the guy that is going to take us to the top, right? Cam Reddish he's still a question mark. Look, I am very high on Cam Reddish. I would absolutely love Cam Reddish. If we got an announcement right this second that we got Cam Reddish, I'd be jumping up and down for joy, right? Because I just think that he has so much potential. He's 22 years old. He's still a kid. He's still got a long way to go and just hasn't really gotten a fair opportunity. And hopefully he can be that guy. And even in the lack of fair opportunity, he's still averaging like 10 points a game. So imagine what he could do if he's actually given a consistent role. He knows his role. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows what he's supposed to provide. I mean, I think realistically, he could be nightly a 12 to 15 point a game guy, give you, 5 or 6 rebounds, maybe like 2 assists, couple steals, right? He's a guy that I think can make an impact. You're not going to be asking him to give you a huge role, and very likely the Lakers aren't going to stop here, right? You're probably not doing Evan Fournier and Cam Reddish, and then that's it. That's the be-all, end-all. This is probably just an added piece, or at least I would hope, right? Hopefully this isn't like, oh, let's go get Fournier and Reddish, and that's it. There you go, LeBron. Like, hopefully that's not what ends up happening. Hopefully, if they did do a deal like this, it's the first stage of like, hey, let's get 2 guys that could come in and give us production that can't be worse than what Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn are giving us, right? And you're trading 2 guards for 2 guys with size. I mean, Evan Fournier, again, he's not really a small forward, but he's got good size. He's 6'6". So, again, you're trading, a 6'1" guy for a 6'6" guy. That's usually pretty good. But, again, I have just not really sold on it. Obviously, Bojan Bogdanovic, that's the player that we all want. That's the player we all hope the Lakers can land. But is it really worth an unprotected first? Because there's just a lot of things that go into it, right? Well, first off, Bojan Bogdanovic would be a perfect fit, right? There's no questions about that. There's no doubt about that. There's none of that like, oh, well, if you get Bojan Bogdanovic, maybe he doesn't fit or maybe he doesn't show up. It's not like he's going to go to the Lakers and all of a sudden get worse, right? Because he's going to be playing with LeBron James. He's going to be playing with Anthony Davis. He's going to be with guys that are going to make his job so much easier and be able to take off some of the burden for our stars, right? Because we are so LeBron James and Anthony Davis scoring centric, right? And we do have guys, Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, who can contribute, but you don't want to be counting on those guys night in and night out. So the positives that Bojan brings is undoubtable, right? But does it make us a Sherlock contender? I don't think so. I think there's no doubt it makes us better. Very likely much better, but I don't think that it's like Bojan is the missing piece that we need, and now we're a lock to be contention. We get into the playoffs, I will take my chances, and hopefully this isn't the be-all, end-all move, right? Hopefully you're not just trading for Bojan Bogdanovic, and that's it. But the problem is now you're even more limited, because now all you really have is Russell Westbrook and 1 first, and you have to convince other teams to take that. And now you don't really have any cap space. So now you have the team that you have now for basically the next, 2 years at least. And it's like, is Bojan, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, are those 3 good enough by themselves with a bunch of minimum guys to win a championship? Because that's basically what you're stuck with, right? You're probably not keeping Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves. You might be able to keep one or the other. But you're basically got Bojan, LeBron, and Anthony Davis and a bunch of role players that are on vet minimums and like a mid-level and biannual, right? That's basically all you got. And if that's not worth it, then I don't know. I don't think you can give up one unprotected first for Bojan. But let's say it came down to one or the other, right? Like, let's say it was the Knicks deal or it was Bojan. You go do Bojan, right? Like, you go get Bogdanovic over Cam Reddish and whomever, Fournier, or even if you get the Randall in the deal or whatever, like, you get Bojan Bogdanovic. Better fit, more natural fit, gives the Lakers everything they need. A sizable wing, can play both forward spots, shoot the lights out. All of those things are true, and all those things would be great for the Lakers. But it's just really hard to give up an unprotected first for a guy that, yes, makes you better, but unless you're doing other moves, then you're kind of stuck, right? Like that. Like, if this is it and all you get is Bojan, then you're kind of in trouble. Like, I would rather, if you can, not saying that they would, but like, let's say Alec Burke is worth, a second. Right? Okay, well, tell you what, we'll do give us Alec Burke and, Nerlens Noel, and we'll give you a first and a second, right? Like something like that. Or if it's not Noel, ideally I'd like, Sadiq Bey. But if you can't do Sadiq Bey, if it's like Noel or whatever, like, because then at least you can justify it. Okay, we got Bojan, but we also got Alec Burke, who can be another 3-and-D shooting guard. We got Nerlens Noel, who could be a backup to Troy Brown and Anthony Davis, provide, some shot blocking, defense, stuff like that. Okay, cool. Like, you get what I'm saying? It becomes more enticing. The problem is you'd have to trade Russell Westbrook. But again, if you did that, then maybe you could take Patrick Beverley, Kendrick Nunn, and another first and go get another piece or 2 at that point. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just like, at what point, what do you do? And look, I don't really, I would love for them to keep Russ. I've been a huge Russ defender, but is Russ part of the Lakers' long-term plans? If he isn't, if the Lakers don't really plan on re-signing him, then maybe you should go get players that can help you now and the future. I do have concerns about Anthony Davis's production once Russ is traded, if he is traded, and just the playmaking in general, because Russ is kind of the setup guy right now. But if you could get basically pieces that the Lakers need, then it's hard to say no. You know what I mean? Like, and also, does Russ want to stay with the Lakers next year? That's another point, right? Like, what if Russ just says, I'm not staying here, I leave, you trade for just Bojan Bogdanovic, and again, now you have no cap space. Now you have nothing. You're stuck. You know, and Bojan, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, Bojan and LeBron are only getting older. Anthony Davis, he's been great and healthy this year, but can he keep that up for multiple years? It's just a lot to sort of digest, and I don't know if Bojan is the answer. Ideally, if you could work out a way to get Bojan and Cam Reddish, whether it's a 3-team deal or, you're trading Nunn in a second. Like, if you could get, like, if the offer of Kendrick Nunn in a second or even 2 seconds, right? Like, say you give Chicago's 2023 second and you give the Lakers 2023 second for Cam Reddish, cool. If you could do that, and then I think that gives you a little more justification to then go trade for Bojan Bogdanovic, because you're like, okay, we got 2 wing guys. Now we got a first. If we find a good deal for Russ, great. If we don't, then at least we got two wing level players that could really help. Again, I don't think both of these guys combined make us a lock contender. But I think, again, inches us closer, makes us better as a team. So I think you could justify that a little more. But unless you can get these two and make another move, I don't know. It's if we had 3, 4, 5 first round picks to trade, cool. Go ahead. Give up that unprotected first for Bojan Bogdanovic, right? Why not? It's worth the risk. But the problem is when you only have 2 first round picks to trade and every team is trying to fleece you, and then you go walk into a fleece level deal because that's what the Pistons want, you're almost better just walking away, right? You're almost better just saying, hey, you know what, like, let's find something else. Let's find something else that is worth, pursuing. Because Bojan isn't it. There's always going to be other options. There's always going to be other players. Like, Bojan, as great as it would be, if you could find somebody that is not as good of a shooter but still good and plays defense, wouldn't you rather have that? What if Cam Reddish can come in and be, 38% from 3? I'm not saying he will, but what if he can't? He's a better defender than Bojan. So then maybe you could do that. Or, like, what if you could just go get Buddy Hield for, 2 seconds or whatever? What if the Pacers are like, we want to get off of Buddy Hield's contract, we'll take 2 seconds. I'm not saying they will, but, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in a month from now? Come the trade deadline and teams are trying to scramble and figure it out. I'm just saying, like, you're better off just waiting and being patient. And Detroit doesn't have to make the trade, right? Like, Detroit wants an unprotected first because the way they look at it is like, we don't have to trade him. And they've even talked about how, like, they value him as a locker room guy, as a vet leader, as somebody that could be, a mentor to these guys, right? So there's value to Detroit beyond just trading for him. Like, if the right deal is there, they're going to trade him, but they're not in a rush and they don't need to trade him. They got him locked up for the next, 2 years. So whatever they want to do, if they want to keep him, they can keep him. So it's not like the Lakers are in a position to negotiate and all that stuff. So you got to really ask yourself, like, what do you want? What is more valuable? The flexibility in what could potentially come down the line, or go get Bojan Bogdanovic and hope that he's enough to make you a contender. I don't know. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? What do you think the Lakers should do? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down